Today I'll be reviewing Boruto Chapter 47 Pre-Death was easily the chapter of the year. Might have been the greatest chapter, or at least one of the greatest chapters in all of the Boruto series so far, and we're only 6 chapters into this year and 47 chapters into the series. This is easily one of the greatest, if not the greatest chapter of the series. And when it comes to reveals and epic moments, this is probably up there with the Naruto and Sasuke versus Jigen chapter. That's just how I felt after reading this chapter, especially with the reveal at the end that we've all been waiting for and we knew it was coming, and despite that, it was still hype anyway. Yeah, this chapter was great from start to finish, but the first thing I actually want to talk about is the cover page with Kawaki and his hand in his pocket, which was nice foreshadowing for the fact that his karma was going to disappear later in this chapter. And then there's the title Predestined Fate, and we probably all assumed that this was going to be related to Kawaki and this was going to be a Kawaki chapter, but it really wasn't. It was definitely more of a Jigen, Ishiki slash Kashin Koji Jiraiya chapter, but Kawaki did play his role in this chapter. But I'll get more into that later. I'll talk more about how this relates to Jiraiya's legacy, Ishiki's new abilities, and how Naruto will play a factor in all of this later. The first major thing I want to talk about is Ishiki's ability to shrink things, which we got a name for, and it's called Tsunoka Hinoka. I'm not sure. I probably completely butchered that, and I will continue to butcher it until I actually hear it from the source. So that aside, his ability allows him to shrink non-living things. The only living thing he can shrink is himself. And we knew all of this from the last chapter or previous chapters, but we didn't have the name for his ability. So that was nice to know. So as the battle goes on, it becomes harder for him to shrink things. Because of his last battle with Naruto and Sasuke, we know that he isn't fully recovered. I think Amato said he was at 10% or something like that. But like, if this is him at 10%, that's absolutely ridiculous. So while the battle's going on, Naruto's just like, well, it looks like it's over. And Sasuke's like, no, you idiot, he can always come back with the karma. And Sasuke also confirms this with Amato when he asks if Jigen dies, does Kawaki become the vessel? Which leads to Shikamaru questioning if it was Amato's plan to set them up, and have Ishiki revive himself in the village. Which would have been that would have been a crazy plot twist if it was true. Because last chapter or a chapter or two ago, I was thinking, does Amato work for somebody? And I didn't have any definitive evidence, and so I didn't make a video on that. But this is a great starting point to actually question that. Does Amato work for someone else aside from, or was he working for someone else aside from Jigen slash Ishiki? I think it's a fair question to ask because we don't actually know what Amato's end goal is or his end game. We don't know what he wants at all. We just know that he wants to work for the Leaf for some reason. I don't know if it's just so that he doesn't die. So I can't rule out the possibility of Amato betraying us. I do think he'll end up betraying us in some facet. I think he'll use the contract that he's formed with Naruto and the others to his advantage to give himself an opening to leave or do whatever he wants. But I don't think Amato is going to be here for the end game. That aside, so after hearing all this, Kawaki comes in attack first, and Sasuke immediately just cuts off his arm, no hesitation or chakra needed, which is why he's low-key the best character of the series. That aside, after Kawaki asks what Amato is planning, Amato then decides to explain that Ishiki is about to automatically transfer into the vessel, meaning Jigen, because Jigen is about to burn to death and die. And we also find out that it's a strict rule of karma that he can't transfer into Kawaki because he hasn't finished extracting himself in Kawaki's body. So in short, Jigen, although naturally weaker than Kawaki is because Kawaki is made to be the perfect vessel, Jigen is the only one Ishiki can transfer himself into to hold Ishiki's power right now because Kawaki isn't ready for Jigen's power, or Ishiki's power. So essentially, Kawaki's a really nice, expensive PC that doesn't have a lot of space on it as of right now. And Jigen is a decent PC with a lot of space. We also find out that Boruto's body won't be ready for Momoshiki to take over for a while either, and Boruto was able to come to the conclusion that they would have to kill Kawaki before that could happen. And Amato says that is one option, and Naruto just gives this glare, and Kawaki just looks completely devastated. And Naruto says that he won't let it happen. Sasuke's just there like, Sasuke, I think Sasuke is willing to do whatever it takes to protect the village, even if it's killing Kawaki. We already saw him cut off his arm, no hesitation. So after that, we get Ishiki's revival and Jigen's dead body that was burnt to death. So rest in peace, Jigen. Dude has been suffering for at least 1,000 years since Kaguya's time, and being forcibly, I guess he was forcibly taken to be the host of the parasite Ishiki. And it's crazy to think that Ishiki can revive himself with a dead body as long as it has karma on him, or on it, which means that even if they killed Kawaki, he could still come back in Kawaki's dead body. I said this in my last review, but this is all kind of reminding me of what went on in the end, or towards the end of Naruto Shippuden. Because this is probably similar to how Kaguya revived herself in Madara's body. And you can make the argument that Zetsu served as a living karma that controlled the process. And while this was going on, Amato tells us all, we have that shocking moment when Amato tells us all to observe Kawaki, and then we get the moment where Kawaki's karma just vanishes from his arm, which was completely shocking to me because I never even considered it a possibility. And it makes you wonder what happens later, because we know he's going to get the karma back before his fight with Boruto in the destroyed Leaf Village. So I'm wondering if Kawaki is going to end up sacrificing himself, similar to what he tried to do in the village for Naruto. Maybe he'll end up willingly giving himself up to Ishiki for everyone to survive. So as the process is happening and Boruto is shaking down Amato, he's like, what the heck is going on here? And then Sasuke stops him calmly. Amato explains that all other karma vessels are erased when an Otsutsuki is revived, no matter how many there are. So if there was like a secret vessel somewhere, or anything like that, it's gone. There are no other vessels for Jigen. Or I guess Ishiki. Ishiki is now revived, and there are no karma wielders for him. I wonder if this actually means the ability is gone from Kawaki and they're going to have to place it back on him. Because like I was saying, Ishiki is either going to place it back on Kawaki, who's supposed to be the perfect vessel for him, or Kawaki just still has the karma abilities within him. But it would kind of be hacks and cheating if Kawaki still had the karma abilities and he didn't have to risk being Ishiki's host. Amato also says two more important things. The first is that the reason this happens is so that there isn't multiple of the same people around. So imagine the possibility of an Otsutsuki coming back in two different bodies. That would be crazy, and I guess this way we can prevent that from happening completely. So imagine Momoshiki gave, I don't know, Boruto and Sasuke or Naruto, or maybe all three of them, his karma seal, and then had the possibility of reviving in not any but all three of his bodies at the same time. Then there'd be three Momoshikis. I guess it's kind of the same thing with Jigen / Ishiki. He can't revive himself in two bodies at the same time, and to prevent that, he gets rid of the karma seal on all other bodies. Amato also says that this is the moment it's possible to kill an Otsutsuki, which to me means that now is the time. Like right after Kashin Koji dies, or if Naruto and Sasuke head in to save them, I think now is the 100% best chance that they have at defeating this dude. I know it seems kind of early to defeat a guy who may be up in the upper tier, the Otsutsuki clan, but this is seemingly the best chance that they have, because if they bring in a third person like Rock Lee, who we know is going to be effective against the Otsutsuki clan, based on what Gaara said when they were fighting Momoshiki, because the Otsutsuki can't absorb and repel taijutsu attacks directly, Ishiki wouldn't be able to shrink Lee either, and then Sasuke could save more chakra for when they have to leave. So Naruto, Sasuke, and Lee versus a slightly weakened Ishiki might be a good idea, but at the same time, I think Ishiki has gotten stronger since he transformed, because later on in the chapter, he's able to completely get rid of Kashin Koji's fire. So maybe now in his full Otsutsuki form, he's actually stronger than he was in his maxed out Jigen form. And that would be crazy to think about because in his maxed out Jigen form, an incomplete vessel, he was able to completely defeat Naruto and Sasuke. But that aside, we finally get to see Ishiki's true form and seemingly a new dojutsu which allows him to not only shrink things but control them. Because we see the pillars move, which causes the transmission toad to disappear. And before I move on to the next part, I want to talk more about the new Dojutsu Eye. I've seen a lot of people talk about how it relates to the Dharma Wheel, which means that it grants wishes and he'll have 8 different abilities. And we've seen Jigen talk about granting wishes with Amado, and I think Delta as well. And we've also seen Jigen recreate a table when he had that dinner with Delta that one time. So we've already seen things that relate to the Dharma Wheel in action as they relate to Jigen, and they've already alluded to some of it in some ways. And if this is all true, the plan I was talking about earlier to send in Naruto and Sasuke and leave for round 2 is cancelled because if he has multiple abilities in a single dojutsu like the Renegon and the 6 paths, but more, he'll probably have 8 4 8, and we're talking about 8 different new abilities that we have no idea what they do. I assume the shrinking and controlling the objects is already one of the abilities or 2. If it's not 2, it's at least 1 ability combined. And even if that is only 2 of his abilities, that's completely crazy. And we're looking at a completely new tier of power. Not to mention the fact that he just has the 10 tails somewhere just chilling. And if Uchiki is really about to have this much power, we've been talking about the Boruto time skip and him getting stronger. Naruto and Sasuke are going to need some practice with each other if they want to take it to the next level to defeat him. We might be talking about Sasuke needing another arm and Rock Lee becoming completely essential in the fight to defeat Ichiki. We haven't seen any of it in action yet, but we did see Jigen fight Naruto and Sasuke, and it feels like the power gap is similar to where it was with Naruto and Sasuke in the war versus Madara. They could like counter and block some of Madara, but they couldn't do anything to actually defeat him. And that's kind of what it was like with Naruto and Sasuke this time versus Jigen. It's gonna be a whole other ball game if Ichiki is half as strong, or if he's even half as strong or twice as strong as Jigen. So after Ishiki reveals his true self, we get a worried reaction from Naruto when he finds out that Kashin Koji is on a suicide mission without knowing, and he says he's worried for him and doesn't know why. I notice as Naruto's having this reaction, Boruto looks concerned and Sasuke looks at him too. Sasuke may have already pieced together that this is indeed Jiraiya. So then we get to the final moments of the chapter, what we've all been waiting for at least 2 years. The identity of Kashin Koji. So Ishiki speaks and he says all genes, all people have a predestined fate, which is the title of the chapter. And he says that man bore a mighty fate, a star of change. And then we see the mask crack and it falls off. And then he says, now I understand why Amado wanted to cling to it, that man's mighty fate, to the minuscule possibility of change. Kashin Koji, clone of Jiraiya of the Great Three. That was the hypest line of the chapter. I mean, I knew it was coming, but to read it, for it to actually become true, when you speculate on something and it seems like fact, there's always that small chance that it's not it. But this time we knew it was coming, and yet I was still completely hyped when I read the line. We saw him use lots of Jiraiya's jutsu, from the first Rasengan versus Konohamaru versus the mud style, and then the fire and toad style, the summoning. We saw it all. But we finally got the reveal this chapter. Kashin Koji is a clone of Jiraiya. And that final line of the chapter that Ishiki says, that you shall die here, was also predestined by your genes. Damn, this chapter was amazing. Everything led up to this. But the fact that we got foreshadowed that, I guess, clone Jiraiya Kashin Koji is gonna die kinda sucks, but I do think, or at least hope, that Naruto and Sasuke find their way here. I think if the Toad was still active and was watching, and they saw him unmask himself and they saw what seemed to be Jiraiya, Naruto would have told Sasuke, "Let's go," and they'd be heading in right now. But they don't know this, so I'm not too sure. And the fact that Amato early in the chapter is like, "Why are you so worried about this guy?" Knowing damn well it was Kashin Koji, or knowing damn well that Kashin Koji is Jiraiya, just makes us want to hate Amato for some reason even more. But just to backtrack really quick, I thought Ishiki saying or seeing Jiraiya's fate or knowing of Jiraiya and saying that he'll have the same fate, similar to how Momoshiki saw through Boruto's future and says that his blue eyes will take everything from him, was really interesting. I'm wondering if there's more of a meaning behind that. And I wonder if Kashin Koji will end up as Jigen's vessel, and that'll be a way for us to keep Kashin Koji alive. Otherwise, he's dying here if Naruto and Sasuke don't show up. So let me know if you guys think Kashin Koji will end up as Jigen's vessel while he waits for Kawaki to fully prepare himself. But that aside, let's talk about the actual reveal and what led to this. I think most of us knew it was coming, like I said before. I was still excited. But the two things I want to talk about is how Amato got the DNA to clone Jiraiya, and how Kashin Koji being revealed as Jiraiya's clone affects Jiraiya's legacy. So first, let's talk about the DNA and how it was collected. When it comes to the DNA of Jiraiya, I don't think it was collected recently because Jiraiya has been in the ocean for 15 years, and not even Obito can get him out to be used in the war, which means it must have come from a source that was already keeping some of Jiraiya's DNA saved. And if I had to take a guess, it'd either be Orochimaru or that Amato's been planning this for years and collected Jiraiya's DNA while he was still alive. Or, as I speculated earlier, Amato may be working for someone else, and I think that could be Orochimaru. So, Orochimaru is the only known character in the series that has successfully cloned someone, aside from maybe the Ku clone that we saw in the Boruto anime arc. But Mitsuki is a clone of Orochimaru himself, who's also a part of the legendary Sannin 3 that Ishiki mentioned at the end of the chapter. So it'll be interesting to see what role Orochimaru plays in this later on. And I think them mentioning Jiraiya as part of the Great Three might be them alluding to the fact that Orochimaru, who also has a clone, might be involved in this somehow. Now let's talk about how this affects Jiraiya's legacy. I've seen people say it does, it doesn't. I've seen both answers, but I'm definitely on the side that says it doesn't add or subtract anything from Jiraiya's legacy at all. I think because they made it clear that this isn't Jiraiya, it's a clone. It's genetically Jiraiya, but this isn't Jiraiya the person at all. He has no memories of his life as Jiraiya. Sure, he has some sort of connection to the leaf that he feels within himself, but this isn't Jiraiya at all. Now, if this was actually Jiraiya who survived the battle with Pain and had just come back after all this year and Amato fished him out of the sea and kept him alive and just erased his mind or memory and he had amnesia or something like that, I would have called major BS. And honestly, it would be hard to continue reading the Boruto series or watching the anime, especially since it's been fully established that Jiraiya has died. And that was a big part of Naruto's growth that helped him understand Sasuke's pain, which was stated by Kishimoto himself. But that wasn't the case. He was a clone, and he's not even the first one in the series to point fingers at either. Because the first clone we got in the series was technically Mitsuki, or I guess you could say Shin Uchiha, from the Sarada Gaiden arc. And we've also had a clone of the third Tsuchikage, Ku, from that arc in the Boruto anime. So he isn't even the first clone introduced in the series. It's been an ongoing theme in the series where we have artificial things versus naturally created things, like learning ninjutsu versus ninja tech, and then clones versus actual people. Do they have souls? That's been an ongoing theme in the Boruto series. So I don't think this has ruined Jiraiya's legacy at all. But let me know what you guys think of that in the comment section below. I think that's everything I want to talk about regarding this chapter. There are some things I'm interested in and I might do research on regarding maybe the Dharma Wheel and Ishiki's ability and the other things that come with it. I also want to talk about Naruto and Sasuke potentially teaming up with Lee to head out to save Kashin Koji if they find out who he is. But either way, this chapter was amazing from start to finish. So many things happened in this chapter. It makes you wonder what's going to happen in the next chapter, because I feel like the last three chapters have all been like the chapter of the year. But let me know what you guys think when it comes to the regard of Kawaki's karma. Do you guys think it's gone? Like gone forever, and that Ishiki's gonna place it back on him? Do you think maybe he's gonna make a sacrifice that leads him to getting the karma seal back on him once again? And how do you guys think Naruto is gonna react to this news about Jiraiya being Kashin Koji if he finds out? I think Naruto is gonna absolutely lose it in a way that we haven't seen in the series so far. That aside, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching, and bye.